Alrighty, good evening. I'd like to welcome you to the Town Council meeting for the Town of Sunnyvale. Please stand and join me in invocation to be given by the great and famous Larry Allen.
And let's pray. Father God, we thank you for this day, and as we ponder back over the last 20 plus years, Father, the 9/11 events, we thank you for the protection of this country. We thank you for the great men and women that serve this country, our firemen, our police, our military. Father, we pray for blessings upon them as well as the citizens of this country, Father, the leaders as well, Father. We thank you for this country. Father, we ask tonight as we go about the town business, you'll be with us, that you will guide, direct the conversations, Father. We thank you for this town that you've given to us and for the residents that are here as well. Thank you for all your blessings, Father. These things we pray in your name. Amen.
Please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. At this time, I'll call the meeting of the Town Council of the Town of Sunnyvale to order. It is 7:03 p.m. on September 11th, 2023, with members Larry Allen, Jonathan Freeman, Manu Danny, and Mayor Pro Tem Mark Eldridge present. At this time, which council staff any items to report on related to expressions of thanks, congratulations, condolences, information related to holiday schedules, recognitions, reminders, upcoming town events? You guys got anything? I'm going to say, first off, I'd like to thank the town staff for all the construction going on the roads. I'm looking forward to being able to drink my coffee while driving on these roads without spilling on myself. It's going to be a very exciting time. I know they're working hard and it's moving fast and everything seems to be on schedule. So I know that's from all of y'all's really hard efforts. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. And we do, just as a reminder, we do have updates on our website on a regular basis. Every Friday in the news flash, we'll continue to update our road progress. There may be slight variations to the schedule, just depending upon weather. I know our milling machine was ahead of schedule the first week, so we're doing our best every week to update through our website and through social media any changes that are going on. And certainly on our website, there's also a phone number and an email that you can reach out to staff, and we will try to be as responsive as we can to deal with any issues that crop up. And I think we're happy to help mitigate some of those issues that crop up. There's just no easy way to fix the roads, and so we appreciate everybody's patience as we get through this process. And hopefully by the time for Turkey Trot, the roads will be nice and ready to go. And speaking of Turkey Trot, we do have that event and also another event coming up. I think Rachel has a couple of updates.
Yes, sir. So we will be hosting our Veterans Day event on Saturday, November the 11th this year. It will be a morning event. The time is still to be determined, but we will get that out as soon as we can. And then Turkey Trot will be on Turkey Day, on Thanksgiving Day this year. And it will also be a morning event, and the race will begin at 7 a.m. And we encourage you to look at our website and our social media channels for registration.
And then also just for a month of October, don't forget we do have National Night Out coming up on October the 3rd. That's at 6 p.m. at Town Center Park. We are a top 15 National Night Out competitor, so we're looking to move up in the rankings. We moved up last year. Hopefully we're going to be in the top 10. No pressure, Chief Vegas, but please come on out on October the 3rd to Town Center Park and have a good time and help mix and mingle with everyone in our public safety departments.
Awesome. Anything else? All right, moving on to public comment. This is the time that you can come forward and speak to the council on any items you would like other than litigation or personnel matters. If you'd like to speak to the council, you may come forward at this time. No? All right. I'll close the public comment section. Introductions. We have 3 new employees to introduce, and we'll start with Town Manager Jeff Jones.
Okay, so this first person is no relation to Jeff Jones, but his name is Chief David Jones. He is our interim fire chief, and so we are happy to have him. He's got more than 30 years of experience in the fire services. He is a retired fire chief from the city of Keller for close to 10 years. He started his career as a volunteer firefighter at the city of Keller. He retired and then missed it so bad he went back into being an interim chief. And so for a brief period, I believe it was last year or so, he was the interim fire chief at the town of Trophy Club. And we were fortunate to find out that he was in the market about the same time that Chief Kendrick announced his retirement. So we're really excited to have somebody with Chief Jones's credentials. He's got a bachelor's degree in emergency management. He's an executive fire officer, nationally accredited, and just has a plethora of experience. We're excited to have his leadership to help us during this transition. So at this time, we'd like to welcome Chief Jones up to the podium, and we'll get some pictures.
Mayor, Council. So I'd like to introduce our newest officer. His name is Joshua Steptoe. He comes to us with 15 years of experience, both in the municipal policing and college district policing. Officer Steptoe's fiance, Jaleese, is here with him today, and his daughter, Nevaeh, who is, by the way, a pilot. She's a pilot at her young age. And they got some exciting news where they just recently closed on their newest home. So we'd like to welcome them to Sunnyvale PD.
Who's up next? Your turn? Michael? Awesome.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor, Council, everyone. So last but not the least, I'd like for all of us to welcome Michael King. He's our new senior planner who started with us late last month, August 21st. He comes from City of Dallas. He was a senior planner there. And before that, he worked for City of Allen and NCD-COG. He started his career in military and right after high school. Upon return, he received his bachelor's degree in interdisciplinary studies from UTA. He worked as an aircraft technician at a defense contracting firm before that. And since joining NCD-COG, he has also become an AICP candidate. He also brings valuable plan review experience, being certified with ICC as a building plans examiner, commercial building inspector, and a commercial energy inspector. We are extremely pleased to have him as part of our team. So with that, I welcome Michael King.
At this time, I'm going to read a proclamation on Mayor George's behalf. So, where's my notes? From the office of the mayor. Whereas on September 11th, 2001, the American people endured the worst terrorist attack on U.S. soil in the nation's history with courage and heroism. In response to this tragedy, Americans across the country came together in a remarkable spirit of patriotism and unity and carried out countless acts of kindness, generosity, compassion, and participated in service and remembrance of activities on September 11th. Where community organizations, family members of 9/11 victims began observing the anniversary of September 11th as a charitable service day to honor the memory of those who were lost and those united in response to the tragedy, including first responders, volunteers, all participating in service and remembrance of activities on September 11th in a very positive and respectful way to remember the lives of those lost, pay tribute to those who rose in service, and honor those who continue to serve our country today, including active duty, reserve soldiers, their families, veterans, and first responders. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that, what was the wording we used? On behalf of Saji George, Mayor of the town of Sunnyvale, on behalf of the citizens of Sunnyvale, do hereby proclaim September 11th, 2023 as 9/11 Day of Service and Remembrance. In the town of Sunnyvale, and encourage all citizens to honor the lives of those lost through participation in community service and remembrance ceremonies on this day and throughout the year. Thank you, everybody. We're going to take a nice little moment of silence and remember this very historic day. Please bow your heads. Thank you so much. All right, we're going to ask all the first responders to come forward as we want to recognize you guys and say thank you for all your service and sacrifice you've made. We're going to take some pictures. All right, moving on to the consent agenda items. Council, we have 2 items on consent agenda. Does anyone have any items they would like to remove from the consent agenda? Oh, good. All right, if not, can I have a motion with respect to consent agenda items 6 and 7?
Make a motion to approve consent agenda items 6 and 7.
Second.
Motion made by Councilmember Freeman and seconded by Councilmember Danny. Anything else on this? No more comments? All right. Get a vote for approval of consent agenda items 6 and 7. All in favor? Yep, sorry. All opposed? Do I need to do official recording since only 4 of us? Just motion passed 4-0? Okay. All right. presentations and updates. Moving on to presentation updates, present and discuss updates related to the DMAIC projects, road projects. We got you, Mark? The other Mark?
Mayor and council. As everyone has probably noticed in the community, we've got quite a bit of road work that's been underway over the last 2 weeks or so. This is part of our, what we call DMAIC road project. This is the next phase. We had a phase 1 and a phase 2A that were completed last year as well as earlier this calendar year. And so now we, about 2 weeks ago, embarked on phase 2B. And you can see the projects that are part of this current phase of the DMAIC road improvement program. This work is slated to essentially last through the better part of this fall. And we've got quite a bit of construction crews that are on site that are working through this to try to get the work done sooner rather than later. Kind of affectionately call it the Band-Aid, ripping off the Band-Aid approach. Just get in strong and get out as quickly as possible so that we can minimize impacts to the public. For the most part, we'll have 1 lane of traffic. As we take down each section of road, we'll maintain 1 lane of traffic for our citizens. However, the lane that does get taken down, of course, that'll be not passable for approximately 10 to 12 days. The projects that you see there highlighted in blue, these are the initial projects that we've undertaken. Just today, we reopened eastbound trip between Beltline and to the falls, and then now the westbound lane will be closed, and we'll begin construction on that piece. In the case of South Jobson between Trip and US 80, the southbound lane has been under construction now for about 10 days, and we expect to open it Wednesday morning, September 13th. And then shortly thereafter, we'll close down the northbound lane between Trip and US 80 in order to complete that work. The nature of the work essentially is when the contractor begins, they lay out all their erosion control and mobilize with their equipment, and then they start what's known as utility potholing, just trying to confirm the placement of utilities so that they don't have anything that's in conflict of the work area. And then at that point, they'll bring the milling machine out, and that's when they begin to cut the asphalt down anywhere between 10 to 15 inches in order to get all those old layers of asphalt out of the way so that we can then put down a brand new base material. That's been part of the problem over the years is largely just layers of asphalt kept getting put on the same roads, and then after a couple years we begin to see failures again. And so with this current project, what we're really trying to do is dig down deep, get all the old material out of the way, put down a really fresh, durable base material, and then repave on top of that so that we've got a roadway pavement that will last the better part of 15 years, if not 20 years, before we have to come back again and reconstruct these roadways. So after the contractors have milled out the old asphalt, they'll then put down a lime base, and that'll cure for about 48 hours. And then after that, they'll come in and put the cement down that'll bind with the lime to create that really durable base that I mentioned earlier. And then at that point, they'll come in and pave 4 inches of what we call type B asphalt. And then at that point, we'll go ahead and switch the traffic over and do the other side of the roadway. And so that's basically what you saw today happen along Trip with the eastbound lane reopening. So then we'll flip and we'll do the other side of the road. And then before it's all said and done, we'll come back again and put the last layers of asphalt, which is known as type D asphalt down. That's about a 2-inch thick section of asphalt, and we'll put that down on both sides of the roadway and then follow that with the striping, and then we're essentially done. And so again, as I mentioned earlier, it's about a 10 to 12 day process per lane, per segment. We should be done with the projects that are in blue, again, Trip and Jobson, on or around September 23rd. And then, you know, we've already begun work on the red segment there, which is Jobson between Town East and Tripp. We expect to have that finished by the end of September, and then we'll shift attention to Town East and then Collins after that. And so, you know, hopefully by the end of this calendar year, everybody will be real pleased with the new roadways in the town, and you know, people will be able to kind of be reaccustomed again to having, you know, unfettered access to all the various sections of Sunnyvale. We can, as the town manager mentioned earlier, we continue to provide updates on social media, as well as our website. And so for citizens to find out the latest and greatest information, they can go to our webpage. There's a road projects dedicated page that'll have all the latest and greatest schedule information for them to stay abreast of. So with that, I'd be happy to take any questions that you might have this evening.
Council, any questions?
So as per this information and if everything goes well, the project should be done by 10/20, is that correct?
Correct. For Town East, we are looking at that third week of October being finished with Town East, and then concurrently, under the current schedule, Collins Road will also be under construction during the better part of October as well.
Thank you.
Sure.
Mark, is this a project timeline based on perfect weather scenario, or do we have time built in for potential weather?
It is pretty much based on not having any kind of delays related to weather issues or constructability. And so, you know, with rain in the forecast, and of course, as we get into October and November, you know, we tend to have a little bit more rain. And so there could be impacts to that, and that's where we'll continue to work to keep all of our messaging in line so that the public is aware of the latest construction schedules.
Nothing else? Great work. Looking forward to it.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you all.
All right. Moving on to public hearing items. Item number 9, hold a public hearing, discuss, consider, and act upon the first reading of ordinance 2023-09, granting a special use permit to allow for an approximate 5,400 square feet proposed accessory dwelling unit at the property located at 418 Tripp Road, which is currently zoned SF2, single-family residential.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council, Town Manager, existing staff, and members of the audience. Shruba Sen, Director of Planning and Development. So the application in front of you tonight is for the property located at 418 Tripp Road. Is zoned single-family 2, and the lot size is roughly 8 acres. On the aerial map on your screen, the property is outlined in blue. Primarily accessed through Tripp Road through a circular driveway. The request is for a special use permit to allow a detached accessory structure to be used as a ADU, or accessory dwelling unit. Roughly about 5,400 square feet in size. It will serve as a temporary living quarter for the applicant while they build their new house on the property. Also, in future, once the new house is built, it would be used as a mother-in-law suite. So staff recommends approval of the application. A little bit of background. The application also went through a variance process through our Zoning Board of Adjustment, because as per UDO, there was a maximum size limit based on the lot size. So they had to request for a variance to get the 5,400 square foot size approved. ZBA approved that variance on June 5th. On the right side of your screen, that's a snapshot of the overall site plan showing the existing structure as well as how the new proposed structure will lay out on the lot. Access will still be through the existing drive on Tripp Road. As you can see, the structure, as required by UDO, would be behind the main structure, but partially visible from Tripp Road. It would be at least 50 feet away from the side lot line, and there is a 40 feet by 60 feet covered livestock area that is proposed, which is not part of this application. That's kind of a tentative floor plan provided by the applicant on your screen. It would consist of about 1,900 square feet living area, mudroom, media room, your typical kind of living unit layout. There's some additional storage space also shown, including some garage space. That's a rough photo provided by the applicant on how the structure might look once finished. It meets the current UDO requirements, the ADU, and it will not impact the neighborhood in any negative fashion, generating more traffic in the residential area or any other kind of negative impact. The Planning and Zoning Commission considered the request on August 16th and unanimously recommended approval. These are some of the site photos of the existing structure that's on property. So the new structure will locate behind that structure. So that's all I have for you tonight. The applicant is present here, Mr. Tolson. If you have any question for him, and if you have any question for staff, I'll be happy to answer.
Great, thank you so much. I'm gonna go ahead and open up for public comment. At this time, anyone from the public wants to come forward and speak on this item, please do so. Would the applicant like to come forward? Anything to say? Feel free. This is your time.
I feel like I need to be holding a welcome sign. My name is Mike Tollison. I live at 142 North Pascal Road at the corner of East Tripp Road and North Pascal Road for the past 33 years. We bought this property in 2000. The reason I'm going to give you just a very brief 30,000-foot overview is because, as I've said on these boards before, I always wanted to know the intent of what was proposed and that it met all the requirements. We bought this property in 2005 with the intent of building 4 homes for my 4 grown children and 12 grandchildren that all live right here. I was informed over a decade ago that was not their intent. So now their mom's and my intent is to demo this old home that's sitting, that you see the picture of, which has been there since I think around 68 or 69. We've remodeled it a couple of times. There's renters in it now. My son lived in it for 10 years, outgrew it. But it's just, that's not what we want to live in for the rest of our lives. So in the meantime, we were going to build a barn that was big enough to hold all of our equipment. I own a restaurant company. I've got equipment that I would like to store out of the public view. I've also got 40 head of livestock that need a covering. And so we were going to build, my proposal is to build an apartment. I wouldn't necessarily call it a barn-dominium because the whole structure's not livable. It's going to really just be an apartment within that barn that we will live in temporarily. What's temporary? I don't know, a year, year and a half, 2 years. But eventually demo the house, rebuild a home, one-story home that we'll live out our days in, Lord willing. So the reason I understand that I had to have a special use permit to begin with is because there will be a period of time that the primary dwelling will be in an accessory building and not in a primary building, and so that's where we're at with needing a special use permit. And I'm happy to answer any questions related to what we're doing.
Awesome, thank you. Do you guys have any questions for the applicant?
Hey, Mike, appreciate you coming forward and give us some background on that property. What's your intent with the word apartment after y'all move out into your house?
My mother has lived with us she's 78. She's lived with us for the last 10 years in the home we live in now. Our intent is to let her live there as self-sufficiently as possible until she lives out her days. And then most likely with 12 grandkids, all under 10, you know, 1 or 2 may go astray here or there and may need a place to stay. So you gotta always be thinking ahead.
I like the way you plan, yeah.
So, it's not my first rodeo.
Yeah, right. Hey, so I only have one comment for you. I'm sure you've thought about this. The property behind you is a potential area for growth that won't be residential. And I just want to be sure that we're on the same page with that, that we don't come back in a few years.
Well,
and
I've
go,
got 8 acres surrounding me. I live on 2 acres now. If it were up to me, I'd live out my days where I'm at, but we don't always get what we want.
Right, right.
If it's up to me, I'd be living in that barn the rest of my life, but it's not always up to me. So, we'll build a home. It'll be a very nice home. We've owned that property for a long time. We've been offered a lot of money for it. We're not gonna sell it. My kids
No,
can
and I
sell it
wouldn't-
after I'm gone.
Yeah, no, that's not what I was getting at, but the other land behind you
Yeah.
is gonna be developed at some point.
Well, it's
and
700 feet away, so I'll just have to live with it.
There you go. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it, Mike.
Perfect.
So,
All right, nothing else? Thanks so much for coming
Thank you.
forward. Appreciate the backstory. If no one else is coming forward, I'm gonna go ahead and close the public comment section. Council, any questions for staff? Any thoughts?
So just to kind of reiterate, the only reason we're having to do special use permit is because there will be a period of time where the accessory dwelling is the primary dwelling?
No, actually, the UDO says that if a accessory structure is being used as a ADU or a living unit,
Mhm.
you have to have a special use permit. So irrespective of whether there was a period of time, no primary structure, or there is a primary structure, you still have to get the SUP.
That clear?
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, no. No other questions? All right, that's the case. Can I get a motion?
Make a motion to approve item number 9 as presented.
I'll second.
Motion made by Councilmember Larry Allen and seconded by Jonathan Freeman. All right. Everyone sends a motion. Does anyone have any questions on the motion? If not, all those in signify with your hand raised. All right. Ayes have it, 4-0. Thank you. Thank you for coming out.
Grandkids moving back in.
Yeah, good luck with 12 kids, 10 and under. 12 grandkids, 10 under. Alrighty, moving on to item 10. Hold a public hearing, discuss, consider, and act upon the first reading of ordinance 2023-11 of the Town Council of the Town of Sunnyvale, Texas, making appropriations for the support of the Town of Sunnyvale for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2023, and ending September 30th, 2024, and adopting the annual budget of the Town of Sunnyvale for the 2023-2024 fiscal year.
Mayor Pro Tem Eldridge, I'd just like to make a few introductory comments before our Finance Director, Mikkel Reeve, will kind of go through the all funds budget, including general fund and enterprise fund, which are 2 major budgets. This is my second budget since I've been town manager, but the theme is the same this year as it was last year, and that is we have a growing economy, we have a growing budget, and we have a growing service demand which we need to meet, and that does cost dollars. This year's budget is $1.3 million higher than last year's budget, but it accomplishes 5 things. Number 1, it provides tax rate relief. It also provides water and wastewater rate relief. Your average Sunnyvale resident, if this budget is approved, will receive a $676 reduction next fiscal year, either through property tax reduction in our homestead, 20% homestead exemption, or through our water and wastewater rates, which include a winter sewer average with a double cap to reduce their annual sewer bill. Secondly, it invests in employees, and I appreciate and laud the council, mayor and council, for your efforts last year, and again for this year in the proposed budget and all of our workshops leading up to tonight, where we have received council support to invest money into our salaries and wages and our benefits program to make us much more competitive than where we were. If you recall, last year we had a compensation study done, and on average we were 12th out of 13 cities in our competitive set. But thanks to the mayor and council's effort and last year, our current year budget and our proposed budget, hopefully we're moving up that ladder and we are very competitive. I'll give you one example is last year we were 6 officers short in our police department, and today we only have 1 vacancy. So you all have made a significant difference. So that is the second focus area, is to continue to focus on our employees and keeping this market competitive. Thirdly, we're going to focus on technology. Customer service is an important part of what we do, and having the technology to make good decisions and to empower our customers to make decisions goes a long way, and you can't do that without technology. So there's a sizable increase in technology this year versus last year, close to $500,000 we're proposing to invest in technology. The fourth area I want to focus on is public safety. Traffic patrol, we started that at the mid-year with 2 police officers dedicated to traffic unit, and we are proposing 2 additional officers to round out that traffic patrol division. Communities our size generally don't have a traffic patrol division, but we have a significant amount of cut-through traffic, and every road that we fix, that Mark talked about in our DMAIC project, seems to encourage folks to go just a little bit faster than they used to. So we do receive a significant increase in traffic complaints. And I think having the 4-person traffic patrol division will make a significant difference in the safety in our community. And then lastly, the fifth focus area of this budget that's being proposed tonight is an investment in our capital improvements. Tens of millions of dollars we're proposing to invest in capital improvements in a wide variety of funding mechanisms. We're proposing to fix more roads. We're proposing to change out water and sewer lines, improve our drainage throughout town, add additional monies and funds into our park system, potentially build more trails, and invest in public facilities. So these are the 5 focus areas of our budget that's being proposed tonight. I just want to give a shout out to all the department directors and all of the staff members behind the scenes who put months and months of work into making this budget. I also want to thank Mikkel Reeve, and I want to thank our finance team that's really done a tremendous job on such short notice to put together a very fast-moving and a rapidly changing financial condition. I think tonight you're going to see more information about our financial picture. The future is bright in Sunnyvale, but there's a lot of work to be done, and I think that this budget will help move the ball down the field. So thank you for your support, and I will turn it over to Mikkel.
Thank you, council and staff and citizens, and thank you. We're going to go through this fairly quickly. We have our budget is all funds included is around $61.6 million. That includes the $14.4 million for DMAIC projects, as well as some other CIP projects that we have on the water and sewer fund. So as you can see, it's sizable increase. However, we still have a $21 million reserve fund balance, and the reserve fund balances generally are 60 days for most funds, 120 for water and sewer, and then other restricted funds that can be used only for specific purposes. We also have $21.9 million of unrestricted fund balance. Some of that's in 4B, some of it's we intend to spend down on the water and sewer fund. But this is just a kind of a whole picture of where the budget is. And as you can see, we're very healthy budget moving forward. We did do the new homestead tax exemption this year, which the average resident just on your taxes is going to be about $453 savings because of the 20% exemption. So this was something that we approved back in July, or council approved back in July, and it went in effect for this current budget. Some major changes in the general fund budget. Again, it's going to be about approximately $1.3 million in new revenue. Again, there is a 3.5% merit, 4% market adjustment with 3 new employees, 2 traffic officers, executive assistant. We've upgraded a couple of part-time to full-time, including the library and animal control. We've planned to put about $500,000 into technology through either the GRS contract, upgrade to ERP, some building permitting software, and then of course the flock cameras at key intersections are all part of that $500,000 investment. We're also putting $500,000 into the DMAIC Road project this year from general fund. And then of some of our capital projects, which is around $14 million, again, that's all part of the various funding sources, including the DMAIC and Collins and Clay Road, potential animal shelter service center. There's some money in there for Parks Master Plan, as well as Rails to Trails and the Trails Master Plan, and then again, a master plan for the water, sewer, and wastewater and water systems. Sorry about that. There's a lot of S's in there. For general fund, your total revenue budget's around $15 million. That includes the $5.5 million in property taxes, $5.2 million in sales taxes, which the property tax and sales tax make up the majority of our revenue, each making up a third of our revenue in general fund. So that's our expenses. Again, we are proposing a balanced budget, and so our expenses are $15 million as well. You'll see moderate increases and decreases in different departments based on either salary or information technology. You see the 70% increase there. That's for our capital projects related to technology. We have broken out a couple of departments this year that were all grouped together, one being human resources, which was actually under town manager last year. And we've broken out animal control, which was under developmental services last year. And then we also broken out our engineering department as well as our solid waste. So there's some new departments that will be created this year with this budget, and just for more transparency on how we're using the funds. I'm just going to go through briefly the property valuations. Our property valuations were a little over $3 billion this year, and that was from $2.2 billion up to $3 billion for our market value. Our taxable value is $1.8 million, which is about a 7.5% increase over last year. But as you can see, our market value is continuing to grow. And as compared to where we were 5 years ago at $1.5 billion, we've come a long way. We've almost doubled in 5 years our market value. Of course, on truth and taxation, our rate is divided into two rates. We have the M&O rate as well as the INS rate. The M&O rate's used to fund day-to-day operations, while the INS rate or the debt rate is used to fund our bond payments. Again, we will be voting on those rates tonight. There was also the no new revenue rate, the de minimis rate, and voter approval rate. Those were also options that we could have adopted this year. The no new revenue rate basically gives you the same amount of revenue last year as this year, and the de minimis rate adds $500,000 to your rate from last year. And then the voter approval rate would be the highest rate that we could have without getting an election. This budget, of course, is built around the same tax rate of 0.3069, which is the same of last year's budget, M&O budget. And so if we look at historically where our tax rates were, you can see we've come from 3.3 5 years ago down to 0.3069, and we'll be keeping that same rate for 24. So we have managed to lower the tax rate and increase the revenue. Overall, again, the last 3 years, the rate's been about 0.45, so this kind of just shows you that we've pretty much kept the same tax rate as prior year for the last 3 years. We are one of the lowest tax rates in all of the surrounding cities that we compare ourselves to, and you can see like the very, very small towns like Fate and Combine are the ones that are below us, but we do have a very low rate compared to everybody else. Again, our proposed tax rate is 0.4530, which is the same as our current rate. Our de minimis rate, we could have gone all the way up to the 0.474 or even the voter approval rate of 0.4930, but instead we were able to keep the same tax rate as last year. For our debt fund, this is all the current bonds that we have outstanding to pay on our debt fund. We are slowly paying those down, but we will still, at the end of this, have a little bit of fund balance of about $139,000 after we've budgeted all of our debt for the current year. We have the debt is the Collin Roads Phase 1 debt that we're still paying on, police department, tax note, drainage project, the fire station, DMAIC, we're doing that, we're still paying a little bit on that one, and then the bridge service, which is the 2021. And then, of course, 4A supports a little bit of the Series 2021 refi, but those are the actual projects that were related to these bond issues. As you can see, right now, we do have a little bit of a high debt, but we're slowly paying it down, which will actually give us a lot of future capacity to issue projects or whatever it is we need to do for the town. Our new debt for 2024, again, this was to fund the DMAIC project, was $3.5 million gross proceeds, and we will be accepting that tonight as well. We got some very good rates on that, and we have our financial advisor here to go over that and another item. But this is to fund Phase 2C of the DMAIC project. The INS rate that we proposed at the August meeting is the same rate that we have to adopt now, and that's the 0.1461. It's the same rate as the last year, and so it will still fund what we need for our debt. I'm going to go through the enterprise fund here quickly. So on our enterprise fund, we're looking at the $8.6 million in revenue. This budget is with the increase that was proposed for the rates. And we're looking at about $12 million in expenses. And that's because we intend to actually buy down about $3.5 million of our fund balance, and that will go directly towards that CIP plan. We also have broken out some departments here this year. Instead of it just being one department, we've broken out into 3 separate departments, being utility finance, which is basically the utility billing staff, non-departmental, which will be our debt service, payments, vehicle replacement, and then our public works department. That way there's 3 distinct departments for transparency purposes. Again, our budgets this year, sewer is about 34% of our revenue, with water being around 55% of our revenue. So we'll continue to move forward with that. For 22 to 23, there's really not much difference in what our total makeup is between sewer and water. We pretty much have the same makeup of revenue. Based on the town council and staff feedback, we've did a 4% water rate increase, and we did the sewer winter average with the double cap, which was presented in option 2 when we went through the water rate study. So our rates are, the 4% takes our base fee up for a residential from around $35.45 to $36.87, with some moderate increases in the volumetric rates. And then for the seniors, it goes from $25.45 to $26.87. Again, the first 2,000 gallons is included in that cap, so that we're not proposing to change that. For commercial rates, they're going from $42.05 to $43.73. The irrigation rates, right now it's a minimum $10 for the first 2,000. And so we will be it will go up to $10.40 for the first 2,000 gallons, and then the volumetric rates after that. Sewer rates, again, we are doing the winter average. This assumes that the residents are going to be charged the lesser of their winter average, or their current water use, or the maximum of 20,000 gallons. So we intend to bill sewer based on the average of the months of December, January, and February will be the winter averaging months. And with that, the rates would go from $36.11 to $40 for residential, and $77.26 to $80 for commercial. Again, the first 2,000 gallons is still included in those charges. As you can see, right now, Sunnyvale is in the middle, and we've adopted option 2, which is going to bring us almost second in the bottom, from the bottom. well, yeah, Rockwall will be the only one that's lower than us for water and sewer rates. So this is going to be, based on the sewer winter average of around 7,000 gallons, which is what an average residence uses, to a maximum of about 17,000 gallons. So as you can see, it's going to be a sizable decrease for our residents. Yes, it's 32. You're welcome. Our debt that we pay for out of the utility fund and also out of the impact fees, we had a drainage debt. We're still paying out of there. The payment this year is going to be about $185,000. And then on utility fund, we have the Harris Water Tower debt, and then we have, the Harris Water Line debt, and then the water tower debt. So we're paying a total of about $433,000 in debt, which is very, very low for a utility fund. Again, based on our rate increase that we did, it was mostly just to offset the water and sewer purchases. But really not much has changed. You can see the different layouts between the water, the sewer, and how Public Works is now divided up into utility finance and then non-departmental to kind of bring a little bit more transparency. Other funds, we'll go through these really quick. Impact fee fund, right now we're planning to budget on 200 permits, which is around $530,000. The total budget of $550,800. Sorry, my glass is not working a little bit. A lot of numbers to read through. We had a projected fund balance of $1,785,000 at the end of this year. Probably after the end of next year, if we don't propose to do any work or anything, we'll have about $2.3 million for the design for Collins Road and the beautification of that. Water and sewer impact. Again, these are budgeted. We intend to have an ending fund balance of about $3.1 million. And we've budgeted the expenditures for the $193,000 for the debt payment. Also, there is in here the notes payable for about $12,000 a year that we're still paying off, which we will have paid off in the next 4 years. That'll be paid off. It's about $12,000 a year for the Highway 80 project. Long-term water and sewer fund, again, you can see that in 27, 28, we should have our debt paid off. And then by 28, 29, we'll have that notes payable paid off. For the PEG funds, we have about $71,000 in our PEG funds right now. We'll probably bring in about $1,300 this year, which leaves us about $72,000 in that fund. This is our various special revenues that we have that are legally restricted for specific purposes. Most notably is the ARPA money at $1.4 million is what makes up the majority of that balance. And then child safety fees and the tree mitigation is what makes up the other two large amounts in there. The rest of it are just library donations, special events, fire department donations, police department donations, and animal control donations. So those are what our current balances look like in those special funds. In our homestead amenities fund, we have a fund balance of about $345,000. We expect to earn about $9,000 interest this year on that. There's not any proposed projects out of the homestead amenities at this time. So the ending fund balance will be about $354,000. TERS funds, again, this is a new fund this year. And based on projections, we'll get about $154,000 from TERS 2, about $149,000 from TERS 3 with some interest. We're looking at about $305,000. At this point, it's such a small amount. We don't have any projects budgeted for it, so that will roll over into next year. These are the projections for the TERS from the consultant. As you can see, TERS 2 will probably generate around $57 million when it's completed. And TERS 3 will be around 62,400,000. So we do have quite a bit of money that will be there. We just don't have it yet, and it's coming, so. 4B, economic development, $2.4 million. The capital projects in this fund we'll talk about here shortly, but we do have those budgeted in this fund. And we do expect to draw down a little bit of fund balance to help fund some of those projects this year. Capital improvement plan, we are planning to do the service center design at about $500,000. We have the CAD RMS program for the police department. We just have a little bit of money that we're still fixing to pay out on DMAIC 1, but we have DMAIC 2B, 2C, and beginning to fund DMAIC 3. So those are all proposed coming up either the rest of this year or in 2024. And then we have Collins Phase 1B and then the Clay Road design also budgeted in this year. So as you can see, we're going to be quite busy with our construction in progress and capital funding. The utility fund, we have the Harris Addition replacement that's going to go in at about $5.7 million. East Trip Road water line planned, US 80 utility relocations, and then the river pump station design. So those are the projects we have budgeted. It's about $11 million in projects for the utility fund. Some of that will come from water and sewer impact fees, and some of it will be from existing bond funds that we have. 4B, the current projects, is going to be the Rails to Trails design. We have the Parks Master Plan design in there, and then the Trails Master Plan in there to redo this year. So we're looking at approximately $2.2 million worth of capital in 4B. Other than that, I think that's a pretty good overview of the entire budget, and we'll take any questions if y'all have any.
I think I'm gonna open up to public comment first, then come back to questions.
Okay.
Thank you, this is really good, really appreciate it. At this time, we'll open up to public comment, public hearing. If anyone from the public wants to come forward and speak on this item, please do so at this time. All right, I'm gonna close the public comment section. Council, any questions for Mikhail? Staff?
I have just a couple of questions. Thanks, Mikhail. That's a lot of numbers. I appreciate that. Slide 31, there's a reference, and I've asked this before, so I'm just going to ask it again, that all connections, because the slide says all connections are subject to a $10 fee for sewer. Let's see here, all connections 36 to 40, but we talked about that being water only. If you're on a septic or if you have a designated meter, that's not going to go to those. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
So this is just for the people who are connected to our sewer system. So if you have a septic system, this does not affect you.
Or if you have a designated second.
Or a designated second. So that's why we have separate irrigation rates over here, is because if you have an irrigation rate, we will charge you a $10.40 minimum monthly on your irrigation, but that's just for water, and that'll be up to the 0 to 2,000. So if you don't use anything just for the irrigation meter connection, it's like $10.40. But you can use up to 2,000 gallons, and we would not charge anything in addition to that. And there's no sewer on that.
Right. Okay, thanks. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Another question, and I don't know if this will go to you or Jeff. Just want to be sure I understood this right. We added 2 new traffic patrol policemen, and we're adding 2 more, and that's in this budget. That the 2 new, so we'll have a total of 4 traffic police, and the other 2 are funded in this budget.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's correct.
Yeah, the two, when we did the mid-year budget adjustment a few months ago, normally we'd do that in March or April, but we did a little bit later. When we did that, we had enough money in the budget at the time to add the 2 officers, and so these would be the 2 additional officers starting in the new fiscal year.
Okay.
Yep,
And then
so about
one
4.
other question, I don't remember the slide, I think it's on 42, on the donations to the police department. It says bike patrol. Do we still have that unit?
We don't have that unit, but occasionally we still have money that's been donated in the past that has not been spent. And so, I guess we need to decide, and we get with the police department side, if they're not going to ever have a bike patrol unit, then we can just transfer that into regular donations, but right now it's been donated specifically for that unit.
Dude, do we still have those bikes, or they?
That would be an answer for Chief.
Yes, we still do have the bikes.
Okay.
They've been refurbished. They now say Sunnyvale Police Department. We do have one officer that is bike certified, and we do plan to get some others that are certified, so we can implement the bikes.
Oh, I thought they may have disappeared.
No, they're still here.
Okay,
They're
thanks,
still
that's
here.
all.
They're in good
Appreciate
shape, too.
Yeah, very good, that's all I have. Thank you all very much, appreciate it.
Any other questions? You good? Okay. I think everybody's good. No more questions to ask. Call for a motion.
Quick question to you guys on the motion, just to approve the budget. We don't have to lay out specific tax rates at specific numbers, or we do?
No, for the budget, it's just a normal motion.
Just
That's the
normal
next one.
budget.
That's for
Spectacular.
number 12, and
That's number,
Councilmember Allen has it.
Motion to approve the budget as presented.
motion by Councilmember John Freeman and seconded by Larry Allen. For this one, we got to do a roll call vote. So, calling your name, tell me your vote.
Yes.
Larry Allen? Yes. Manu Danny?
Yes.
John Freeman?
Yes.
Mark Eldridge? Mayor Pro Tem? Yes. Motion passed, 4-0. I was just making sure you got all the votes before I moved on. All right. Moving on to item 11. Hold a public hearing, discuss, consider, and act upon the first reading of ordinance 2023-13 of the town of Sunnyvale, Texas, ratifying the property tax increase reflected in the town's fiscal year 2023-2024 budget, providing a savings clause and providing for an effective date.
So, the law requires us to ratify any revenue that we get from, new property taxes. So we've got, $591,000 in new revenue just from property taxes. Now, we did increase the budget in revenue by 1.3, but from property taxes, it's just 591,000. So the law requires us to ratify that increase, and basically was placed in there so that council members understood that they were getting more money from property taxes. So that's why we have to do this ratification.
Makes sense. Alrighty, open up for public hearing. At this time, I'll open public hearing. If anyone from the public wants to come forward and speak on this item, please do so at this time. No one's coming forward, so I'll close the public hearing section. Council, any questions? Nope, straightforward. You got one, Larry? No. Well, there's no questions from council. Call for a motion.
Mayor Pro Tem and Council, I make a motion. I move that the property tax rate be increased by the adoption rate of tax.
That's number 12 or 11.
Disregard all that. I thought we were at 12.
It's wishful
I
thinking.
withdraw my motion.
Call for a new motion then.
Make a motion to approve number 11 as presented.
Motion from Town Council Member John Freeman. Second? Second by Larry Allen. All right, another roll call one, right? All right, roll call. Councilmember Larry Allen?
Yes.
Councilmember Manu Danny? Councilmember Freeman?
Yes.
Councilmember Eldridge? Also yes. Motion passes 4-0. All righty, moving on. Item 12. Hold a public hearing, discuss, consider, and act upon the first reading of ordinance 2023-12, an ordinance of the town of Sunnyvale, Texas, adopting a tax rate and levying property taxes for the tax year 2023, enacting provisions related to the subject and purpose of this ordinance, incorporating of premises, providing a savings clause, and providing an effective date.
Basically, the proposed rate for FY '24 is the same rate as a prior year. And so we just have to hold a public hearing on the property tax rate.
Alrighty, at this time, I'll open up for public hearing. If anyone from the public wants to come forward and speak on this item, please do so at this time. No one's coming forward, so I'm gonna close the public comment section. Council, questions? Nope. Alright, No questions, and do I have a motion for item 12?
For real. Mayor Pro Tem and Council, I move that the property tax rate be increased by the adoption of tax rate of .4530, which is effectively a 3.35% increase in the tax rate, with a maintenance operation rate of .3069 and a debt rate of .1461 per $100 of assessed valuation. This year's rate will exceed the no new revenue tax rate.
Awesome. Motion made by Larry Allen,
Second.
seconded by Councilmember John Freeman. All right, roll call again. Larry Allen,
Yes.
Councilmember Manu Danny,
Yes.
Councilmember Freeman.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Mark Eldridge also yes. Motion passes 4-0. All righty, moving on to discussion and action items. Item 13, discuss, consider, and act upon all matters incident and related to the issuance of the sale of Town of Sunnyvale, Texas tax notes, Series 2023, including the adoption of ordinance 2023-15, authorizing the issuance of such notes. It's McHale night. Just you all night, huh?
Yeah, it's me all night. It's gonna be me all the next council too, so. We did sell this new tax note for, 3.5 million gross proceeds to help fund Phase 2C of the Nemaic Road project. And so we do have our financial advisor here to go over the sale. We had a really, really good sale. We were able to actually get the $3.5 million worth of gross proceeds, but we only will be paying back $3.4 million in principal based on our sale. And so I will let our financial advisor kind of explain all that.
Good evening, Mr. Maha. Good to see you.
Yes, good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, Council. Good to be here, and as Ms. Reeve mentioned, a very good day in the bond market today. We have a packet of information before you, and I'll go through the information fairly quickly. The item tonight is the actual ordinance that would approve sale of the tax notes to the underwriting firm. And so on the cover, real quick, I wanted to point out, as Mikhail mentioned, the town will pay back $3.4 million in principal. We actually generated a little premium on the bond sale, and so we were able to pay for the cost of issuance, and you're able to keep $3.5 million to the project fund. And so also on the bottom of the cover page, prior to the sale, we went through the bond rating process. I know we pushed very hard for an upgrade. The town was rated AA with a positive outlook. So that positive outlook is actually new this year. And so really what that means over the next year or two, the rating agencies want to keep an eye on the town. And really the one inhibiting factor was the capital improvement plan. They wanted to see how that was managed over the next couple of years. And so there's a likely chance that there is an upgrade in the future. And so we were pleased to see that, although we didn't get the upgrade this time around. I think in the next year or two that's certainly on the table. And so I wanted to point out, very good and pleased to see that. There's a copy of that report in the back of the packet. I'll jump to page 3. This is really kind of the nuts and bolts of the transaction. On page 3, on the top of page 3, we list out the sources of funds, the $3.44 million and the principal amount, plus the premium, as I mentioned, about $161,000. And then we subtract out the financing costs, and that leaves $3.5 to the town for the projects. Closing is scheduled for October the 11th, so that $3.5 million will be delivered on that date to the town. And then the true interest cost, really the key figure in the whole presentation, in the bottom of page 3, came in at a 3.663%. Page 4, each of the different years, these are tax notes. You may recall from past discussions, tax notes are limited to 7-year repayment. And so the 7-year interest rates on page 4 range from 3.54 up to, or down to 3.38. So overall, 3.66 is the average rate. And you also may recall in early presentations, we were assuming around a 5%. So we came in much lower than that. We did go to the public market. We were looking at going to the bank market in prior months, and that market's been a little disrupted. So going to the public market today, we came in well below the initial projections. So. Page 5 is the debt service schedule. This ties into the budget that was just presented. It lays out the payments for the next 7 years. You'll notice a large payment will be in the very first year. So the town will pay off a large portion of this tax note in the very first year, and that leaves capacity for any future projects. Page 6, just a sample of the overall tax impact model. I know we've looked at this in the past, but I just wanted to draw your attention to column N on the far right. Those are the projected tax rates with the 3.5 million here this evening and the town's existing debt based on some assumed value growth, moderate growth on the tax base. So 14.61 cents for this fiscal 24 tied to the budget. And then we show a declining tax rate thereafter, again, providing the town capacity for future projects. Page 7, I thought this would be interesting. We always like to show today the bonds were in the market or the tax notes were in the market. And really what page 7 shows is for each year that we had tax notes available to purchase, the blue bar exceeded the small black line, if you can see that, which is good. That means we had more investors wanting to buy the town's debt than available. And so anytime you have good demand like that, that pushes down the interest rate. And so overall, we had, I believe, 5.2 million in orders for only 3.4 million in debt. So that's good. We had good participation today. Page 8, just a quick summary of overall interest rates, one of the indices we follow in the municipal bond market going back to 2003, 20-year history. Obviously, we're not at all-time lows like we were a couple years back, but still, historically speaking, favorable interest rates. And these are fixed-rate tax notes. The rate is set for the life of the tax notes. Same information on the following page. And then lastly, as I mentioned, there's a copy of the Standard & Poor's rating report. I won't go through that, but that is there for council, indicating that positive outlook. With that, since this is a setting of a tax rate with the tax notes, it does require just one reading per state statute, and I know the town has historically relied on that, and so there wouldn't be a second reading for this item. Tonight's approval, upon approval by council, everything would go to the Texas Attorney General, and then once the Attorney General signs off, then we can close and deliver on the funds October the 11th. So.
There's not a second hearing, second reading?
No, sir. No.
Awesome. Any questions for Mr. Maha? This is really impressive stuff.
It was a good day.
Yeah.
Good demand, so. And
Yeah. Beat expectations, that's for sure. John's over here crunching numbers furiously.
That is incorrect.
Alrighty, no more questions for Mr. Maha. Then I'm gonna move to public comment. At this time, I'll open the floor to public comments. If anyone from the public wants to come forward, speak on this item, please do so at this time. No one coming forward. I'm gonna close the public comment section. Council, any further questions? Anything else? No? All right. In that case, do I have a motion for item 13?
Motion to approve item 13.
Motion made by Councilmember Freeman. Get a second?
I second.
Second by Councilmember Manu Danny. Awesome. This is another roll call, Rach, or no? No, no more roll calls. Awesome. All righty. Everyone understands the motion? Yeah? No more questions? All right. I call for a vote. All those in favor? Motion passes 4-0. All righty. Eric, appreciate your patience. We always put you at the end on purpose. Thank you, thank you. All righty, moving on to item 14, discuss, consider, and act upon the first reading of ordinance 2023-14, an ordinance of the town of Sunnyvale, Texas, amending Appendix A, fee schedule, Article A5.000, utility-related fees, Section A5.003, garbage collection rates, Section A5.004, water ordinances to adopt new garbage collection rates, water rates, and wastewater rates, providing the incorporation of premises, providing for amendments, repealing any ordinance in conflict with the ordinance, providing the severability, and providing an effective date. That is a long one. All right.
I'm done for the day?
Done for the day. You've had enough. Had enough.
This basically just increases our water rates. We actually have a separate ordinance to increase the water rates. It includes a 4% water rate increase. Again, it also installs the winter average for wastewater with the double cap, as we have talked about in option 2. In addition, this also raises the solid waste rates to $12.05, but this is just because that's what Republic is charging us. So this is, they do a cost of living rate increase every year, and this is just part of the cost of living for the trash rates.
And Mayor and Council, if you recall last year, we adopted a 5-year extension with Republic, and part of that extension was to change the CPI calculation from a true consumer price index to a price index that utilizes things such as fuel, heavy equipment, and other things. It's basically the water and sewer index price increase. And that is a higher increase, and unfortunately, that's just the cost of doing business in that line of work these days. So it is a little over a 5% increase in the trash and recycling bill.
Great. Thanks, guys. At this time, I'll open up the floor to public comments. If anyone from the public wants to come forward to speak on this item, please do so at this time. No one is coming forward. I will close the public comment section. Council, any questions for staff? We're one of the last remaining cities that still has in-person pickup of trash, right? Not automated.
Yeah, that's really the trend. Most cities are going to the automated service collection with generally 1 day a week with a larger cart. That's really where the industry is headed. The labor shortages and the workers' comp issues just make the drivers or the individuals who are on the back of the truck that are picking up the trash cans and throwing them in, it's getting to be cost prohibitive. So this is our last 5-year extension with Republic. So I would guess that when we go out to bid in the next 4 years, we're probably going to have to look at maybe an alternate delivery system or expect to pay a significantly amount of more dollars for that service. So, but yes, that is the trend going forward. I do just also want to remind before council takes a vote that even with the 5% increase in the trash and recycling and adoption of the 4% water rate increase, with the winter sewer averaging, your average Sunnyvale resident is still going to see about an $18 a month decrease in their overall bill for all of these combined, even though there are a couple of increases in there.
Yeah, thank you for that background, that color. Awesome. Council, any questions?
I got one question. I don't know if this is not in the data here, so I don't know if you know the answer to it. Is the recycle trash can that the residents have, is that provided by Republic?
Yes, it is provided at no charge.
That was my next question, because I couldn't find a charge in the water bill. Someone asked that. But the trash is not.
There's a solid waste collection, which would be $12.05. The recycle collection, which is the 95-gallon cart, is $6.68, but you can get an extra cart for no charge.
Okay.
And then we have a twice a week bulky brush pickup.
So that rate fee is included in the total fee. It's not broken out on your bill that you see the $6 for the.
The cart fee is a separate charge. You get billed separately by Republic for that.
Okay.
To rent the carts from them. You can use your own carts if you want at no charge, obviously.
Right.
But if you want to use the 95-gallon carts, there is a fee for that, and they bill those separately each quarter.
Oh, each quarter.
That's a quarterly bill.
I'll see it on your monthly
Yeah.
bill. Yeah. Okay.
Makes sense. Okay.
Michaela, sorry, what did you say about the bulk trash pickup and how often is that?
According to this, it's twice per week, but it's a limit of 3 cubic yards per collection.
Yeah, that's just the standard trash service, right? Generally, if you set it out there, they'll pick it up twice a week. They call it, I believe that's called their.
It's called their bulky brush collection.
Right. Can I ask a question? Like, for example, a sofa, will that be under that? Will they take a standard size sofa if I put it on the curb?
What'd you say, Mikhail? 3 cubic feet? Is that what it says?
Yeah, it's 3 cubic feet is what the limit is.
Yeah, sofa's definitely over that.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can always call the customer service line at Republic Services if you have a question. If a customer has a question about what is free and included in the service and what would be a special pickup, which there would be a charge for that. and they can help you estimate for whatever you set out at the curb.
A resident can directly contact the Republic Service and ask those
Correct.
questions, okay.
Because they're our franchise provider, so no one else can pick up trash in Sunnyvale but Republic Services. So if somebody has something else that's special that needs to be picked up, they can call the 1-800 or the customer service number.
Okay, thank you.
Got a question, Larry?
Yeah, I have one more question for you. This last spring, there were a lot of, I guess, dead plants that were being replaced from the freeze and the heat, and probably get this next year too. And there was questions about when you have large bulk, can you still make a phone call, or is there other options that we haven't pursued as a town to provide, like, I don't know, spring clean pickup or something like that?
We do have our trash off once a year, which that's in the fall. I mean, in the spring. We just had that over at Jobson Park. If you don't want to hang on to something for that long, you can always call Republic, and they can do a pickup load. There's a charge per pickup load. Otherwise, you can cut everything in a bundle as long as it's in 4-foot lengths, and it's bundled. It's all tied together, and each bundle doesn't weigh any more than 50 pounds and is 4 foot in length. You can put as many bundles of brush and tree limbs out there you want, and they will pick those up and throw them in the back. But again, they've got to be tied and bundled and cut in the right lengths and no more than 50 pounds. Otherwise, they won't pick them up. You can't just leave your tree limbs on the side of the road and hope somebody picks them up, unfortunately.
They've been pretty good about picking mine up, so I guess it just depends on how big your pile is.
So where can I find that specification on that trash pickup? I can send it to somebody. Somebody asked me this question personally. So is there a website? Can I go to the Republic website and see the specification on that? Or
You can go to Republic's website, or you should be able to go to our website and find that same information
Okay.
as well,
All
and
right.
the phone number to contact Republic.
Sure. Thank you.
Council, any other questions? All right, can I get a motion for item number 14?
Make a motion to approve item 14 as presented.
Motion by Councilmember Larry Allen. Second?
I second.
Second by Manu Danny, Councilmember Danny. All righty. Thank you. All right, everyone understands the motion. No further questions. All those in favor, show of hands, signify. All those opposed, motion passes 4-0. All right, item 15. Discuss, consider, and act upon the first reading of ordinance 2023-10, authorizing restricted prior service credit for employees who are members of the Texas Municipal Retirement System.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. Latasha Miller, HR Coordinator, has a little presentation to go over. I just want to provide a little bit of context. As you know, obviously the last two budgets, we've worked very hard as an organization to be competitive in the market for public employees with significant experience, because at the end of the day, we believe that helps translate into better service levels, ultimately benefiting our community and our constituents. And so the Texas Municipal Retirement System was created by law in Texas for public employees. Not all public entities are participants. So, for example, the cities of Dallas, City of Fort Worth, they are not in TMRS. They have their own pension systems. So when we hire employees for other levels of government, state government, or Dallas or Fort Worth, or any other public entity that's not a TMRS member city or a member organization, we have the ability to allow those folks to count their time and service in public agencies. It doesn't count any additional money, and it doesn't require the town to fund any additional retirement contributions on their behalf. So this is really truly time and credit, but it is a benefit through TMRS that does have to be approved by council by ordinance. And as you'll see in Latasha's presentation here, we're one of the few cities in DFW that don't participate in this program. And again, ultimately, it does help in our recruiting and retention efforts to attract qualified employees and to keep them.
Thank you, Mayor, Council, staff, and members of the audience. The restricted prior service credit provision under the TMRS, Texas Municipal Retirement System, allows our new hires and existing employees to apply for time credit for prior federal, state, and local government service for vesting purposes only. I put the definition for vesting down below if you would like to read that. Only service time is counted under our RSPCSC. You do not receive any monetary credit, so there's no buyback involved. To be eligible for vesting purposes, an employee must be employed in one or more credible positions for a minimum of 5 years. For example, I am a TxDOT employee. I retired with 28 years of service. I'm not using the example up there, I'm sorry. But I retired with 28 years of service, and coming to the town of Sunnyvale, I'm able to carry that time with me. And so I was considered vested once I started. But as the example above, you can see that somebody who has military service as well as maybe state service with 2 years each, when they come to the town of Sunnyvale and have 2 years, they would immediately have 6 years of service. Only vested employees who are age 60 and have 5 full years of credible service or 20 years of credible service at any age are allowed to apply for retirement through TMRS. There is no budgetary impact to the town. If we go to the next slide, as Mr. Jones did state, these are the cities and towns that already implemented the restricted prior service credit, and it also has their implementation year. Thank you.
And I'll just add to Latasha's presentation, as I mentioned in work session, I think our efforts to become a veteran-friendly organization, this certainly allows members of the military or former service members to bring their service credit as well into local government from the federal government. So it's, again, just a big help in recruiting.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Council, any questions for staff? Nope. All righty. If there's no questions, got a motion for item 15?
I'll make a motion to approve item 15 as presented.
Motion made by Councilmember Allen. Second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Freeman. All right. Everybody sends a motion. They don't have any further questions. All those signify. All those opposed? Motion passes 4-0. All righty. Item 16. Mayor and council request for future staff updates and agenda items. Got nothing? Sure.
The money that we, the $20,000 that we decided to spend on finding the person who did the shooting in the Flanders, did we?
Oh, that was
The reward money,
Yeah.
the update for the homicide,
Uh-huh.
we can certainly provide that at an upcoming council meeting for you.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Anything else? All right. Nothing further. Call for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second? Motion made by Councilmember Freeman, seconded by Councilmember Allen. All right. All those in favor signify. All those opposed? Passes 4-0. Go home. Thanks, everybody.